Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Chaves Redencion crossbar lock. To my knowledge, this is OEM'd by Riot. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Chaves has worked with Riot in the past. Originally, the Chaves Customs and the 228 were made in the United States. But a lot of the newer stuff, the 229, the Liberation, right? These are, to my knowledge, all Riot. This is also Riot, and I believe it's one of the least expensive. I'm not saying that this, considering the combination of materials, isn't an inexpensive knife, but for a Riot knife, I think it's the least expensive knife that I've ever heard of them making, so that's pretty cool. As of the time of this video recording, it's in pre-order, but maybe by the time you guys are watching this, it'll be available. So I will link this down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram and make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Yes, I did nick myself with this knife. It was my own error. I will I will explain that here in just a moment. It literally just happened a little bit ago while I was upstairs trying to help my wife cut open a box. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. It is definitely on the smaller side versus a lot of Chaves' other products. The overall length is coming in at 7 1/4 inches. Blade length is coming in at about 3 1/8, and cutting edge is 3 inches on the dot. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others, up against the AD-10 and my own Excalibur. These knives are dwarfing it, but these are 8.5-inch knives, definitely well into full-size territory. So even though it's a lot smaller, I still wouldn't call this a small knife. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3, which it is exactly the same size as, even though the Para 3 looks a little bigger. It's at the bottom here and the camera's at an angle, so whatever's on bottom looks the biggest. We'll flip these around so I can prove my point here. It's about the same size with more cutting edge, actually substantially more cutting edge than the Spyderco Para 3. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? Riot does not have a lot of crossbar locks under their belt, but the few that they do, they've done a really good job of. This does not operate any different than any other crossbar lock that I've ever experienced. It's definitely on the smoother side. In terms of the actuation quality, I would put it up there near the top, but that's not necessarily saying much. I don't want to put too much butter on this bread. Pretty much everybody knows how to do a crossbar lock, and truthfully, at this point, I'm kind of surprised that we keep seeing new crossbar locks. They're fine. It's an easy way to do an ambidextrous locking system, and they are reliable when they're made by a company like Riot. Benchmade does a good job. Hogue does a good job. And when I say this, I mean the Omega Spring quality is very, very good. Oftentimes when you hear about Omega Springs breaking, what people don't realize is the majority of them are very, very low quality knives with crossbar locks. And in a lot of cases, I don't even think people realize how many counterfeits and clones there are of Benchmade products that are having Omega Springs break, and then people are identifying them as authentic Benchmade failures. This is apparently a much bigger problem. I was talking with Blade HQ. This is apparently a much bigger problem than people realize. But typically, a quality crossbar lock will not have an Omega Spring failure, though it is definitely possible. That being said, I think doing away with Omega Springs in general would be really, really beneficial. I mean, not doing away with crossbar locks in general wouldn't obviously be the best choice for everybody, because sometimes it's just preference. But evolving into newer, better systems, which are definitely available, probably would, entice people into buying some of this stuff and experiencing some of this stuff just for the lock, right? Because it's kind of like, well, we're just taking a profile we're all familiar with and taking a lock we're all familiar with and putting them together because we haven't done it yet. But there's still plenty of people out there, I think, who would prefer it. There's nothing wrong with this crossbar lock. They did a really good job. It's exactly what I expect. We've got kind of medium tension omega springs, but it does feel really good. It doesn't feel sloppy or loosey-goosey or anything like that, and there's no stick. Obviously, your action is very, very smooth. Feels good. Deployment is also really nice, and everything's in the right place. The profile works well, and it's not too small, at least for my hands. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Para 3. Here's where some people might be surprised. This is a Chaves knife that isn't chunky. Not the first non-chunky Chaves knife, but I have the 229, the original 229 made by Riot. Man, that's a chunk for sure. And the originals, there's 2 levels of chunk beyond that with the 228 and the original custom. This is pretty thin. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This is a very easy knife to carry. It's nice and thin. It's pretty small and lightweight and compact. And honestly, my carry experience with it was very, very positive. We're going to talk about the pocket clip here in just a moment. Let's talk about materials. What do we have here? You can see here that this pocket clip does not resemble the Chaves clip that we are all so used to seeing, and that clip is this one right here. It comes with the knife. They also sent a version of this in Tanto as well, so I'll give you guys a look at the Tanto one. But you have the option to equip your Chaves knife with the skull clip if you want to. If you don't like the skull clip, oh no, woe is me, the skull clip is so gaudy. That's my knee-jerk reaction word. I have to use that word when I see the skull clip because God, I don't know, I can't control the words that come out of my face hole. If that's you and your whole world comes crashing down every time you see this pocket clip, shh, hush, child. Just use this one. There you go. There you go. Now you don't have to cry about this. But yeah, so we have, I'm making it sound dramatic, but sometimes people get really bent out of shape about that pocket clip. This pocket clip is actually steel. Darn it, the buck was stuck to that. This is steel, it's not a titanium clip. So we have a steel backspacer and a steel pocket clip, steel internals, steel blade obviously, and aluminum for the frame. Let's go ahead and weigh it. Weight on this knife is, I'm going to guess it's in the mid 3s. 3.7. Okay, so heavier than some people might expect. Balance is probably favoring the butt, which is fine. It's nothing. I won't judge you for favoring the butt. Yeah, it's a little bit back there, but not bad. And the whole thing is under 4 ounces, so it's really not that big of a deal. Honestly, the overall, carry comfort is there. At least for me. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. We have a T8. We have T8 body screw. Sorry, T8 for the pivot. We also have T8 pocket clip screws, which is awesome. This is a crossbar lock. If you've never taken a crossbar lock apart, it will be frustrating the first time you do it, but it's far from impossible. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you're good to go. I would tape off the blade. I forget to mention that, but there are some models you don't necessarily, some types of locking systems, you don't really have to do that. But on a crossbar lock, I have caught myself many times disassembling these things. I would tape the blade off just to be safe. Anyways, let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness because this is much thinner than what we typically see from Chaves. So we are looking at 103 thousandths, definitely on the thin side. Okay, meat and potatoes time. This feels like a Chaves. It's just really thin, and honestly, the jimping, while it's kind of like Chaves does this, is big, long, deep gashes. It does work. It's not the most comfortable jimping, but it does work. The ergonomic profile is good. I can get a full 4-finger grip. Honestly, manipulating this knife is very easy. Like I said, how did I cut myself? I did that stupid thing where I wasn't really paying attention when I disengaged the knife, and for some reason I just had my finger here, and I disengaged it, and it came down and just kind of gave me a little bit of a washaitan, just real quick. And I was like, that noise you make when you cut yourself, and it's already, you go, oh man, just wouldn't stop. I was worried that it might bleed through the Band-Aid during this review. But yeah, so that was a user error. Like, I mean, it's same with any crossbar. Just keep, it's not a design flaw. You just keep your fingers out of the way when you're disengaging it. That's all you got to do. But anyways, yeah, the blade profile and thickness allow for the edge to come down to a reasonably thin edge, right? What are the materials here? Well, we're looking at aluminum and D2. If you if you look around on the internet, this has been discussed. It's easy to find Reddit threads where people are like, why are they using D2? Let me reduce this for people who are interested in this knife. If you like this knife, if you're like, I think I would like to buy that, right? And you're also like, I like steels with really good edge retention. Okay, then D2 is the right choice. At this price point, D2 is the choice. Because while typically we do see, like, every now and then you see some company use 20 CB or some other, steel. I think we've seen Migron use M390 at this price point. Typically at this price point, when you're seeing those steels, they're not heat treated properly. Who is going to heat treat D2 properly at this price point? It's going to be Riyadh. 14C28N is usually the go-to. It's kind of the knee-jerk go-to. And I like that steel. It has a great balance of attributes, and I didn't really learn this until I read Laren Thomas's article. It wasn't due to my own experience with the steel and comparing it extensively. No, it was just reading his article and understanding what makes a good budget steel that's going to be tossed around and used a whole bunch, right? Typically, the common user of a knife that's under $100 is probably going to use it without too much reservation. Therefore, given that you're probably going to beat on that edge and have to resharpen it fairly often, a steel that's very, very tough and resists chipping and that is also stainless and has an okay edge retention, that's kind of what is going to be largely beneficial for those people. And 14C28N fits the bill alongside a few other steels, right? But not everybody is like that. Some people will just blindly kind of throw 14C28N into this, that's the best steel at this price point category without thinking about what they want or what they expect. Now, plenty of people who put edge retention above all, like they put it up on a pedestal. Plenty of those people will never use a knife in a way that edge retention really matters all that much. It really just depends. You can't lump everybody into one category. But for those of you who value edge retention over everything, you want to get the best edge retention at the price point, we're looking at a knife that costs about $80. And as far as the steels that are typically offered under $100, which one of them is going to have the highest potential edge retention? It's D2 by quite a bit. I think people either forget or they don't realize D2, if you're just going to line it up against 14C28N for edge retention, it blows the doors off. It's not even close, right? Now, if that's it, right? If your brain is just like, D2 old, D2 not cool, I not pay them. Well, okay, that's not. 14C28N, however, some people look at it like this. 14C28N is a steel that is more expensive than D2. D2 is incredibly inexpensive, and we see it on knives that cost less than $30, and it still has at least an okay heat treatment. So for some people, it's like, well, all of that noise is kind of out the window. I'm just kind of reducing it to whether or not I feel like I'm getting my value for the material. I think this is a fairly reasonable argument. In fact, I think it's more than fairly reasonable, right? Especially when combined with what you're going to get in terms of performance, given the environment and usage, all of that. From that angle, yeah, I think I do understand. I kind of wish that we had gone with something else. I kind of wish that, or I wish that they had reduced the price a bit. But I don't know that you can really do that with a company like Riyadh. Riyadh does make really, really nice stuff, and while there are other companies that are able to imitate Riyadh's quality, more so now than, years ago, Riyadh does still make a really exceptional product, and they really, really go out of their way in the fit and finish department. Can I tell the difference? Picking this up, manipulating it, can I tell that it's made by Riyadh over a lot of other companies making sub $100 knives? Truthfully, no, I really can't. Sometimes knives feel like Riyadh knives. In this case, it feels like a nice Chinese OEM, and it's a knife made out of, night, like good fit and finishes, ground like evenly on both sides, right? Aluminum and steel, like that's what I didn't pick this up and go, ooh, it's obviously Riot. No, I didn't. But yeah, they do a good job. So anyways, it has the Chaves logo here. We got a nice little stone washed finish. Looks good. Bevels are even on both sides. I'll let you guys take a look at that plunge grind there. Nice tip. It is definitely sharp. Definitely did a good job with the factory cutting edge there. Everything is very Chaves-y. We don't have any lanyard hole or anything like that. It's just a plain backspacer. Pocket clip is a little tight given that it's steel, but it does go in and out of the pocket just fine. It's not too tight. It's not like the ProTech Chaves. Holy moly, that was a tight clip. Honestly, ergonomic comfort all the way around. Even these corners back here are not nearly as sharp as like my old 229. So it's good. We have, whoops, missed it there. We have no blade play up, down, left to right, no lock stick, no pivot lash. Smooth and consistent in here as far, it feels like any other crossbar lock. Snap down into the closed position, and it stayed center this whole time. D2 aluminum Chaves for 80 bucks. Is it worth it? If you reduce this to materials and what the competition provides, no. If you are a fan of Chaves knives, you're familiar with Riot quality, and you don't care about D2, you're just like wanting a, let's say you've looked at a lot of Chaves' offerings and you're like, wow, these are all really expensive. I really wish that I could experience a Chaves knife for sub $100. This is going to be perfect for you, and it's going to feel like $80 well spent. If you are not specifically interested in Chaves knives or this profile, you have never lusted after this profile, then this is just D2 and aluminum for about 40 bucks more or 30 bucks more than what we typically see. Miguron does aluminum and D2 for 30 bucks. And it's not really a whole lot different than this. So, do I think everybody can do that? No, I don't think Miguron's making very much when they do. I think they're making barely anything. Riot and Chaves both have to make something here. So, what do I think a realistic price tag would have been for this? Like 65 bucks or something like that, I think would have been a little bit more reasonable. But at $80, I'm not super mad at it. I'm glad that people who want to pick up a Chaves knife have the option. But, one thing that's super irritating is the fact that we have an ambidextrous locking system. Like, this is a knife that's meant to be accessible for a wider range of people, right? That's great. But on the crossbar lock version, the ambidextrous locking version of the knife, like we couldn't have had, if you're going to give two clips, give one that can go on the left-hand side. Like the skull and the non-skull, okay, they're just steel clips. Make this thing ambidextrous in terms of the carry options as well. You can't mount a pocket clip on the other side. That's so weird, especially when we have an ambidextrous locking system. If you wanted this knife to be right-hand only, why are we messing around with the crossbar? Like, why not do, Riot needs to try their hand at button-operated top liner locks or compression locks or whatever, so the spine, do something with the spine, like the super lock or whatever. That would have made this a lot more interesting to me. For some people, this will be a no-brainer, and they'll pick it up immediately, and it'll be really cool. And if you want to know, is this knife made well? Will it work for EDC? Yeah. If you like Chaves knives, I think you're going to be happy with it. You spend 80 bucks, you're really going to enjoy it. For everybody else, it's like, okay, it's a Chaves, it's crossbar lock, and it's a little too much money. It's kind of weird, but, I don't know. It's okay. I'm not upset about it. These knives are going to be given away on my channel, so you can expect to see these on live streams on Friday evenings. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.